How's it going, guys, and welcome to 4 Mile Ranch. So this is a part 2. This is not going to be the in-depth review and testing that I've already done on the Infitac FAST or FAH25. So if you haven't seen that, I recommend you taking a look. This is, like I said, a part 2 where I'm actually showing you the user interface and controls, so almost like a video how-to. Should you be someone that has picked one of these up, or if you're really on the fence and you just want to learn more, this is me getting into the weeds, the actual controls, without making the first video that's already on the channel, and I will have it linked in the description below, without making that too long, because I know not everyone wants to see that. Some people just were curious about the optic. So this is for you if you are really wanting to get into the weeds on this optic. Now, you're going to hear me reference the power button on the back of this unit and the P button, which are literal labeled buttons on the rear. And then there's a scrolly wheel kind of control on the left where it actually rotates with tactile clicks and it pushes in like a button. So as I'm walking you through these controls, that is going to be what I'm referencing. Now, I'm going to do the best I can to show you very briefly what you see through this optic. So first and foremost, this is a hybrid optic. So you can see we basically have a red dot there. And if I scroll the wheel on the side, it turns to green. So it seems to me like that's for lower light applications. The red has more power output. As far as I can tell, it's auto brightness. There is no way to manually adjust that. Okay, so as best I can, I'm going to show you kind of what this thing looks like. It's not going to do it justice to what you see to your eye. It's a very clean and sharp looking display. I have it aimed at my TV across my house because it's warm, so to give you guys something that's actually going to glow relative to the rest of my house. So I'm going to press and hold the power button on the rear, and when it boots up, you'll be greeted with the infrared logo. Now, if you purchase this after the time of me obtaining this unit, you're actually going to probably be greeted by the Infitac logo. Now, right now you see I have the, it's kind of like a pulsing target outline. So every second it draws a line in your environment around something that's glowing hot. If I press and hold the side button, you get the red dot function. So this is a hybrid mode, meaning that everything, as you can see, is scaled true to what you see through the otherwise red dot window. Now if I press and hold and there you see, now that I obstruct the view, how much it's outlining. So I'm pressing and holding that P button to change the picture profile. You notice there's that filled in deer on the top left, and that is now for the target mode. So it's filling in your target potentially. Try to give you a view. So red dot on top. Hopefully, it's kind of hard for me to gauge camera settings here, guys. So if that doesn't look too great, just know to your eye it looks phenomenal. You can see the red dot on top of that outline. So this is going to be your target mode. If I press and hold the P button again, now this is full thermal. Now you'll notice that the TV is smaller on that full thermal mode relative to what you're seeing through this viewing window, and it's an illusion, guys. It looks like it's just a very small window within here. It fills a lot more the window to your eye. It's just an illusion of the camera itself. And oops, I'm not trying to turn this thing off. So this is where in my full review I recommend covering something, because then you're just looking at your environment itself and it's less confusing, because when you see both in this transparent view, it gets really confusing to your brain because now they're not scaled, and I wanted to point that out. And that was one of my biggest complaints when I talk about this stuff in the full review is, you know, they really should have had like a flip cover at the very least to assist your brain with that. So that is a green hot mode. If I press and hold this P button again, then there's a black hot mode. So, and it looks like, let me just adjust my camera settings very briefly for you, because it looks like it's totally washed out. Again, to the user's eye, it looks really, really good. Now, it doesn't look like there's a lot of contrast to the image there, because there is, everything is air conditioned in my house and it's pretty much at the same temperature other than the TV. So it looks really, really good to the user's eye. Thermal as a technology doesn't look so great when everything's the same temperature. So pressing and holding the P button on the rear will cycle you through all these thermal modes. A quick tap performs the nuke function manually, so even if it's set to auto nuke, you can automatically do that. Now a quick tap on the power button will change your digital zoom. So you can see 1x, 2x. And then long pressing the power button just gives you confirmation if you want to turn the unit off. So you can scroll over to no if it was an accident, or if you want to go ahead and hit yes, then it shuts the unit off. Okay, so I'm now using the video feed to export, and we're just going to simply walk through the menu. Okay, so if I click the scrolling wheel on the bottom, the menu is going to pop up. Now let me just kind of orient you to what we're looking at. In the top left hand side, the B is telling me that we are in black hot, and then there's the video signal because I have video out export turned on, so I'm recording this internal view. And then on the to the right of that, the A is for auto, so it's auto nuke because you can turn that off. We are in 1x power, so this thing you can digitally zoom. And then it's telling me what the battery status is based on a 3-volt battery. So if you use 3.7 volt rechargeables, you can change that. We'll get to that here in just a second so that you have an accurate battery meter. You can see the menu will turn off automatically after a few seconds. So now back to the bottom left, you can see all the different setting options. So we have the color profile, so you can go through the menu system to tell the system what you want it to default to. So I'll go ahead and click again to enter that. And then if I scroll, it's going to go to all those different modes. Of course, it's going to get weird when I go to those highlight modes because of you are only seeing the internal recording. But that is the thermal profile itself is being recorded. So pressing that wheel made me go back. And if I just keep scrolling it to the right, this is going to be contrast. So if I want to play around with image contrast, you can certainly do so. I had it set to about 7. Now notice this looks okay here. But if I were to go to the other profile, the green hot, for example, the contrast setting that I prefer is different. So personally, I would probably set it to about a 4, whereas on the green hot, I thought it looked better on 7. Totally user preference. So anyways, moving on, I'm going to click again. Here is your brightness. So this will increase or decrease what you see to your eye. You guys are not going to see that in the screen recording, but it gets pretty darn bright. Definitely, for the most part, daylight bright, especially if you have an actual cover in front of that window for the thermal. It's more than daylight bright. It's not quite daylight bright if you don't cover anything, and that's why you need that cover, because you're seeing too much of your actual surroundings. So up next is the reticle brightness, which right now you're not seeing any reticle at all. So I will circle back to this. I need to turn the reticle on, which is going to be later in the menu system. This is going to be that auto nuke function. I'm going to leave it on auto. I don't want to put it to manual personally. And then we have further settings. So this is how you zero, and you have an X and Y. What's cool is it actually freezes the frame. So what I recommend you do is fire around at your target and then go into the zeroing, and you essentially can drag and drop a cursor where it needs to go. So you see how there's a little dot, that's where it started, and then you drag and drop your reticle over the impact point. The sensor is sensitive enough that you can see that impact. So it'll do a freeze frame, so that's where aim at the bullseye, shoot, and then you can line up the reticle and that cursor with the point of aim and then the point of impact that should have a thermal signature on the target, depending on the range you're at, of course. So there, I just pressed the power button real quick to get out of that. So I'm going back into the deeper settings menu. Here is the reticle on or off. So you guys, I believe right now you see it as black. You do have the option to turn it as black or green. Okay, so in the recording that does reflect as white or black, but it's actually green or black. So if you're in black hot, you want the green reticle. If you're in green hot, you want the black reticle. So I'm gonna leave that up, and then we're gonna real quickly go back. I'm curious to see if this shows up in the recording. So this is the back button, reticle brightness. So it actually does show up as more or less intense in the recording. And same is true when you're looking through this optic. It gets pretty intense to, or if you prefer to be very, very light. Now you want to use this digital reticle when you're in the full thermal modes. You don't want to try to use this through the hybrid mode. Again, they are not scaled properly to each other. Different applications. Here's how you enable or disable video export. I don't want to do that because it'll kill my recording. And here's how you change the batteries. So right now I'm set to 3. You'd click that, scroll over, select 3.7. If you had a 3.7 volt battery, and then here is your factory reset. Don't want to do that. And then this just backs you up to the main user interface. So again, all these are going to be displayed holographically when you're looking through the optic and you're in the menu. And it's cool that the digital recording or the output is allowing me to show you this, but just keep that in mind if you guys are recording the footage for hunting and stuff. If you play with the menu, that's going to show up temporarily in your hunting footage. So anyways, again, this is a part 2 getting into the weeds of the actual user interface of the Infitac FAH25, or FAST as they refer to it sometimes. This is a pretty cool optic. Again, if you have not seen the dedicated review, I recommend you do so. It should shed some more insights on how this thing actually works, and I do some thermal footage tests, etc. So anyways, without rambling any further, I want to thank you for taking the time to watch this video, and as always guys, have a good one.